Hello, I'm Ben. I'm the outreach manager for RPL, and today we have another interview with the lead. Here's Harrison. Harrison, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Harrison Bennett. I'm the structural manufacturing lead for RPL, and I've been on the project for about 3 years now, coming up on it.
Nice. First question, Harrison. What does your team specifically work on?
So, structural manufacturing, we focus on pretty much all the physical hardware. We're kind of the nuts and bolts teams. So we design things like our test stand, we design the structure for our actual lander as well, and we end up being the ones who build most of that as well. So the test stand we used recently, designed and built in-house by us, and the lander is also designed and built by us in-house.
What did your team work on during the last hot fire test?
So we focused principally on the test stand setup. Since we were the ones who designed the actual test stand and the test configuration, we were kind of the experts in that field. So we oversaw and did a lot of the engine integration to the test stand, and basically making sure that everything was set up to spec, that it was all ready to go, that we were getting, the right readouts, that we weren't over torquing things, and basically making sure that the system was ready to go and wasn't going to rip itself off.
What is your team working on to improve or work on for the next test?
So last test was generally pretty successful for us. However, there were a couple of things that we would like to improve upon. One of the big things is we have a very large engine, so that can induce a lot of vibrations in it. And we had a system for reducing those vibrations, but it didn't perform as well as we had hoped. So we're actually going to be taking another look at that again, redesigning the system, making modifications to the test stand to support it, and implementing that for our next test.
How has RPL helped you learn by doing or increased your expertise in your field or major?
So in classes, you learn a lot of kind of foundational theory. And I'll speak to kind of the more stress analysis structures part of it, because that's my field. In my structures and stress analysis classes, you learn a lot about how to actually do stress analysis, like the math that goes behind it and the different models people have created to do stress analysis. But you don't actually learn how to do these simplifying assumptions to get you to that point. And kind of working in this project has really helped me develop those simplifying models and how to set those assumptions so that I can do the stress analysis that I learned in class. And I just feel like it's really helped me bridge that gap. And especially actually being able to go from here's the design, here's our simplifying assumptions, and then building it, testing it, and seeing it perform pretty reasonably accurate to how we originally set it up is very rewarding and has helped me grow a lot in that field.
What makes RPL different from other aerospace and engineer clubs here on campus?
I think there's two things for it. So on the one hand, I think our mission is very unique. There aren't really any other projects, at least to my knowledge, that are doing controlled rocketry. And on top of that, none of them are doing reusable rocketry. We're in both of those fields. And I think that alone just makes us a really unique, standout project on campus. But on top of that, I think we have a very unique culture amongst our members that you don't see in a lot of the other projects. We work very, very closely together. We are a very strong community. We're all pretty much friends, everyone on the project, all like 40 or 50 people. We all know each other, we all have good relations with one another. And that means that we're able to kind of make work into play, right? So when we're in the lab, we're doing those late nights. Because we all know each other so well, and we're all such good friends, it doesn't really feel like work because it's really just an excuse to spend time with people that you care about.
Speaking on your last point about being friends, late nights in the labs, this question's actually from Yash, who we just interviewed. What is your best memory spending late nights in the lab?
There are two. I'd say my favorite of them would be when we were going out for our first static fire test. We needed to clean the entire feed system, basically the night before. So it was myself, Tim, who's our PM, our systems lead, and I think one or two other people. Oh, and one of our new members was actually there too. We were in the lab, and we spent the entire night cleaning the system. In fact, someone brought a sleeping bag and ended up sleeping in there because we were in there so late. And it was like 3 or 4 a.m. when we had finally finished, of us just hauling the entire thing and just shoving it into the back of my truck. All of us sleep deprived, it's actually getting a little bit lighter outside even, just because it's begins so early in the morning. And just looking back on that, just the struggle that was a very fond memory.
What's one thing that you want to achieve in RPL by the time you graduate?
For me, I want to see maybe not a full flight of the lander, but I want to see at least like a hover or some sort of like low altitude hop. And I think that's feasible because I still have a bit more time ahead of me, right? I have this year and I have next year as well. So I really want to see that, and I think we're getting really good progress to the point where I think that's pretty feasible to do, and I'm really excited for it.
If someone wanted to join your sub-team potentially, what would you recommend, or what would you be looking for?
Two things. So on the most important thing I look for is someone who cares and is willing to put in the time and energy into learning the material, because that's really what matters when you're a student. You know, you can have the coursework, you can have the curriculum, but as I was kind of talking about, that stuff doesn't really prepare you for doing the actual design, doing the actual analysis in real life. What prepares you for that is trying to do it yourself, and when you run into a wall, asking someone for help, going to professors, and trying to learn as you go. I think that's the most important thing I look for. The second most important thing I look for is if you have taken a class with Dr. Todd Coburn. If you know, you know. He's a legend in our major, and he's a really good professor. So anyone who's taken him, generally they know their stuff.